Hi there, my name is Michelle Dunn, and I'm here to share a little bit about myself, as well as compare and contrast the 7 strategies of assessment for learning with the 6 parts of assessment as learning. Please bear with me. As you can tell, I have my very first back to school cold, so bear with my voice as we go through the presentation. First off, I work at Donegal School District. I am currently in the intermediate school building. I've been with Donegal since 1991. I teach language arts, and I teach at the 6th grade level. I'm a local girl. I graduated from Mannheim Central in 1987. I went on to Shippensburg University and graduated with my education degree in 1991, and I've been currently working on some graduate work in the area of reading at Penn State University at both the York and Harrisburg campuses. I have 3 children, Carly, Hannah, and Andrew. This is Carly. She's my oldest daughter. She's 15 and she is a sophomore at Donegal High School. She is my artsy child, very involved with singing and acting. She's definitely my true drama girl. This is Hannah, my middle child. Hannah is 13 and she is currently in 8th grade at Donegal Junior High School. Hannah is my typical middle child, very laid back, very even-keeled. She's very active in soccer, playing both for her school team and her local club team. And this is our youngest child, Andrew. Andrew is your typical boy, very active outdoors. Andrew is currently in 4th grade at Donegal Intermediate School. And of course, I cannot forget our dog, Snickers. Snickers is a 3-year-old mix. He is a Maltese and Yorkshire Terrier mix, or better known as a Morkie. Here's just a quick little video to show you what my family was up to this summer. Next, I want to tell you a little bit about my hobbies, or what I like to do in my spare time, what's maybe left of it after teaching and taking care of the family. First, I really like to read all kinds of books, but one of my favorite things to do is to read books that I can then recommend to my students in my classroom. I like to do crafts. This is a picture of a wreath that I recently made for my mother. I like to travel with my husband. We've just recently, as you saw in the video, traveled to Boston this past summer. I do like to exercise and work out and go to the beach with my family. Why am I taking this class? Well, while my first passion in education is in the art of teaching reading, I'd like to work toward learning ways in which I can marry my passion for reading with the latest technologies that are being offered to our students at Donegal School District. I hope to learn new ways to motivate my students to read as well as keep them on the cutting edge of technology. For this reason, I'm working towards a master's degree in assessment curriculum and teaching with a focus in online teaching. This course is one of the requirements of this degree. While I believe that Penn State University has provided me with a solid foundation for teaching reading, I'm now looking to broaden my knowledge of using technology in the classroom. I've been implementing the hybrid blending learning model in my classroom, and I'm hoping that this coursework will provide me with the information and skills needed to refine my work in this area. By taking a teaching sabbatical this spring, I'll have the opportunity to accelerate through the program at Millersville University. I hope to be able to accomplish this goal and return to my position with a renewed sense of energy, sense of self-accomplishment, and indispensable knowledge, which I'll be able to share with faculty and students. Okay, on to the compare and contrast of the 7 strategies of assessment for learning versus the 6 parts of assessment. Here are the similarities between the article and the textbook information. Both are ways to assess learning. Both focus on self-assessment and setting goals. Both provide feedback during the learning. Both provide a chance to track learning, reflect, and share learning. And both focus on the learning of the actual learner. The differences between the two. First, looking at the 7 strategies of assessment for learning. First, assessments are taken individually. In this model, it can lead sometimes to text anxiety. This model does call for much collecting of data in the formative assessment area. And this model doesn't always provide for the development of soft skills. And those soft skills would be teamwork, communication, adaptability, observation, and conflict resolution. Looking at the model of the 6 strategies of assessment as learning, in this model, the assessments are taken in groups. The assessment or this model can lessen the text anxiety. This model allows for the development of soft skills, and this model has a type of assessment where the assessment itself is the learning. Well, as you may have been able to tell by my compare and contrast, Gupta's model of assessment as learning best fits my pedagogical teaching style. I am, and probably always will be, a terrible test taker. I've always suffered from text anxiety. I believe that Gupta's model creates student motivation for learning. While the students are held accountable for their individual learning in step number 1, the real accountability or the real learning comes when the students collaborate and discuss their initial understanding and come up with a new understanding. With this model, the students are then synthesizing information, which is the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy. They are taking what they know already and they're putting it together with new knowledge talked about and discussed about with their peers in order to reevaluate their thinking and come up with that new final understanding. Well, because of the subject that I teach, Gupta clearly explained his model of learning, or his model of assessment, I should say, in his classroom, in a science classroom. Well, I teach language arts, and because of the subject, I had to really rethink and rework his model. I can see this model working well when I teach my students text-dependent analysis writing. After posing my students with the text-dependent analysis prompt, I would complete Gupta's model in the following manner. Part 1, I would have the students answer the text-dependent analysis question individually. There's that individual accountability. They still have to do some individual thinking and working. Part 2, I then have the students get together with the partners or the team members of their group and share their responses in regard to the text evidence used to answer the questions as well as the explanation of the evidence. Part 3, I then have the students do a little self-reflecting. They would write about how their ideas changed. They would complete a prompt that would go something like this. At first I thought blank, now I think because, and they'd have to explain why their thinking changed. Part 4 then, the students would come back together and determine which pieces of text evidence and which explanations they would use to effectively answer the questions. Finally, Part 5, they'd write a group response to the text-dependent analysis question. And then Part 6, they would present their written group response to the class. I really feel like this model is an excellent example of the gradual release model, where if students worked in this type of format after a few times, they would be able to do the whole process on their own. Finally, in closing, I'm excited to be a part of this class and to be a part of this online learning experience. I'm looking forward to learning new ways in which to improve my assessments for learning, assessments of learning, and assessment as learning. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.